What's the difference between a remote event and a remote function? Well, today I'll answer that. Let's get started. First, add a remote event into replicated storage, and then a script into server script service. Copy what I write. So this function runs whatever code's inside it when the remote event is fired from the client. Now add a local script under starter character scripts. These parameters allow you to send data to the server, and then you can use that on the server. I'll show you an example. So I'm just going to use a number, but feel free to use whatever you want. So now you can just type the variable name inside the parameters. So to access the variable you are sending from the client, you need to put the name in the parameters. It doesn't have to be the same name either. But now I'm just going to show you that it works by printing the variable. And boom. And the other cool thing about them is you can do server to client instead of client to server. And to do that, you write Fire Client instead of Fire Server. And Fire Client can only be used on the server. But the thing is, when using Fire Client, it requires the player as the first parameter. So now that we have the player, we can send the client info. And I forget to mention that there's no limit for how many parameters you put. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to use 2. So now that we have this all set up, we can now set up the client. So on the client, you just put on client event after you get the remote event. And also put names for your parameters. I'm just going to print them to show you. There we go. Now for remote functions. First, add one into replicated, and then add a local script under starter character scripts. And now a script under server script service. Now on the local script, make a variable for the remote event. And the cool thing about remote functions is that you can make them into a Boolean. And instead of Fire Server or Fire Client, we put Invoke Server or Invoke Client. And remote function work almost the same as remote events, meaning you can put stuff inside the parameters. Just to show, I'm going to use the player name. And to use this Boolean we created, we need to set up an if statement. You can copy mine or make your own. So to get the stuff from the client, we use the function onServerInvoke. And instead of connect function, we make it equal to a function. And the first parameter allows you to get the player. So I just wrote this if statement quick, but I'll explain what it does. So first we check if the player's user ID is the same as the person who made the game. And then if that is true, then we end the function and return true. And that gets sent to the client. And if it's not true, then we return false, and that also gets sent to the client. So because I created the game, it returns true. And then on the client, it does whatever it's supposed to do when it gets true. And you don't just have to return true or false, it can return any data type. So for example, I'm going to use a string. And you can just change your if statement to match what you're returning. And just to sum it up, remote events are used for one-way communication between the client and the server. And remote functions are used for two-way communication from the client and the server. For example, from the client to the server back to the client. I think that's going to wrap it up. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, a like is appreciated. And also thank you for 100 subscribers. I cannot thank you guys enough for this milestone. I hope to keep making content for you guys to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you again. See you next time.